Hi everybody, my name's Antoine. I go by the artist name Sous Chef, and I play in the bands High Pulp and Sun King. My band Sun King just put out an album last week called I Don't Like My Telephone, and as of the time of recording this video, in a week and a half's time, we're going to be doing the album release show down in LA. Now for that, we are planning on adding a new song to the set, so I figured this could be a good chance to show y'all how I go about doing that. It's sort of a different process than a lot of bands, I think, because there's only 3 of us and we're making a lot of sounds happen all at once. So I figured it might be interesting. If you're into modular synths, music production, electron boxes, Ableton Live, general live performance, you might get something out of this. Yeah, and with that, let's hop right into it. Hope you dig. Okay, so first we have to break down what's our instrumentation for the band. So for the live group, we've got Bobby, who is playing drums and has the Digitac drum machine. We've got Victory, and he's playing flute or sax through some pedals, as well as his modular synth. And then I've got my modular, the Korg Prologue, the Octatrack, and the Minotaur for bass. So let's take a look at the session now with that in mind. In here, we've got ourselves the full session for what was called 176 and is now called I Don't Like My Telephone. There is the track colors over here. I've already started doing some organizing, and we're going to keep doing some live here. So I know that I'm going to need to take care. I just had a phone call with Bobby earlier. So I know that I'm going to need to take care of all of these drums on my end. So I'm going to make those bright yellow. Boom. Okay. And then over here in the break section, this is what Bobby is going to end up performing. So we don't have to worry about this one. So for now, we're going to mute that. Boom. Yeah, and I guess this is going to the Octatrack. So I should color code this white and not yellow. Okay, so here you got a basic little breakdown of who's going to play what. We've got these tracks over here, which are labeled as Mellotron flute. That's what they were originally in the piece. So we're going to have Victory play those on the real flute. And then we've got this ARP as well over here, which I will play for you now. Sorry, big sound. This kind of thing. So I had a practice with Victory the other day, and I was like, okay, here's the session. Check that out. Try to make something like that with the modular. So he's taking care of all these black tracks. Next up, you got me. I was looking at this noise track earlier, and you know what? I don't actually think it's necessary, so we're going to make it gray, and we're going to pull it down there, which I totally put it with the flute, so I have to fix that now. Classic. These groups. You always got to get the little line between, you know? Boom. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to take care of these 2 teal pieces live, which is going to be this ARP. That's going to be on the modular. This one's going to be the XPO, so here's what this one sounds like. So we got an oscillator in there to do that. And then in the second half of the song, we're going to use a different oscillator, and we're going to make this kind of belly sound. It'll be an interpretation. We won't do the original, because that comes from the Mellotron, and that one I'm not going to have with me. So we're going to use a different module. We're going to use rings, my rings clone, to make that sound. So we don't have to worry about exporting those either. So far, none of this needs to be exported. And then these red tracks are what I'm going to cover with the Korg Prologue. So I've got a melody over here. Right? That's a nice one. And then actually this one, I guess this is not correct. I'm going to use this time to play melody, but I'm going to do a different one. I'm going to do the strings up here. This pink track is because I'm going to figure out how to play this little string part. That one's going to be in there on the Octatrack, but then I'm also going to play along with the Prologue because it's going to be nice to be performing the counter melody while Victory's performing the main melody on the flute. So yeah, so that's going to be the breakdown there. And then the Minotaur, that's the bass, that's going to be my left hand. So again, none of this stuff I have to export, but we just have to go through this organizational phase to know how on earth we're going to perform this thing. So then we get to the ones we do need to export, and these white tracks are all for my Octatrack. So an Octatrack, for those of you who might not know, has 8 tracks. I like to run track 8 as the master, and I like to run track 1 as my inputs, so because I use it as my mixer as well for the modular and the prologue. So that leaves me with 6 possible tracks, and here I've broken it up into 5, it seems. So we're going to have one track that's just going to be drums. We're basically going to keep it as is for now. We might do some slicing when we get to the Octatrack, but this whole white chunk, that's going to be one track. These prologue chunks over here and the matri pads, that's our pads. I could perform those with the prologue, but I figure that that's a little less visually exciting than me playing the melodies along with or counter victory. So I figure I'll keep those in the box and keep the more interesting stuff to play live. The modular lead line, I would love to be able to just like run this into the XPO and have the whole thing doing it. And if I had more time, maybe we could. But realistically, it's a super detailed sound that I made like 2.5 years ago. And the sequence is pretty long and complicated. So that would really like make the project quite a bit more dense. So for now, we're just going to bounce it as one kind of melody zone. And I'm going to probably slice it up so I still perform some of it at the beginning of the song. But it's going to be kind of a more basic solution for now because we're a little bit on a time crunch. This next track over here is really just kind of going to be for this swelly section. It's going to be these big swells that are going to come in the transition that I'm going to try to augment with something from the Morphogene that I'll improvise. And then finally, the Mellotron strings. That's a big component of the song, and I really have no way of performing that live, so we're going to have to make that like built into the Octatrack and kind of try to perform with it and maybe do some creative changes or something. So we'll look into that. So now I'm going to export these tracks in these different groupings, basically just these 5 groups, and then we'll cut over to, we're going to put it on the Octatrack and we're going to cut over to slicing over there. Okay. Okay, so we open up the Octatrack and now we gotta go to our thinkin project. Pretty sure it's gonna be that one, thinkin 2024 new. That's when we started playing this set. Okay, cool. So here you can see a little bit, I'll just hold this bank button, how I set up our set. So you can go to different banks and different banks will basically be different songs. So this song is called Parcel. This song is called, well, our working title was Moon King, but it's Tap Water now. This is Anxiety. So looks like 12 is an unused one. So we're going to go in here into 12. We're going to first start here, make sure that's a through machine with C and D. We love that. We're going to make sure this is a master track. We love that. Okay, so boom. We're going to switch this over to some new samples. So now we got to do that. Add them in here. So we put them in audio. We are inside of audio, so we got to go to thinkin. Boom, we put them in here. And here they are. So we got to add all these to the bank. All right, that's all of them. Now we're going to assign these to each of their respective tracks. Track 3 is going to be melody. Track 4 is going to be pads. Track 5 is going to be SFX, and this one's going to be strings. There we go. This one will make it, oh interesting, it's set up as a neighbor track right now. We'll just make that a flex so we don't have to deal with it first. And this one is master. Okay, cool. So now we've got all of our tracks with the proper things. Now we got to set up the tracks themselves. So I like to toss these. I take loop off, make sure slice is on, make sure time stretch is off. We love that. This seems to have already been done from a previous situation. Makes sense since I'm already getting into an old project. But yeah, this is the basic. I just make sure that loop is not on, slice is on, time stretch is off, just because of the way that I've been approaching these things. Okay, cool. We exit that. We know that our BPM is 176 because that was the working title of the song. And this one is attached to the pattern. So now at this point, maybe what I'm going to do just so I don't mess up in the future, I'm going to copy this pattern and paste it in a bunch of places. Just so later down the road, I have some headway. Okay, we got it in the first 8. If we need more, we'll do more. Okay, so now we get into the real nitty gritty. We got to slice these things up, and to save y'all some boredom, I'm just going to time lapse through this. So stay tuned. I'm just going to fly through. Basically, you hop in here, you go to slice, and you go to town, making the different slices. So I'll do that real quick. Okay, so now we got those tracks sliced. Pretty basic so far, just a single slice on those 3 just to be able to cue it. We got 3 slices here because there were some breaks, so that'll be able to be nice to come in at those points in rehearsal. And then over here we got a little bit of performability, and then we're going to switch over to playing synths once we get to this one. So that's a little dissection there. Next up, we got to figure out the form for the song. So we got the patterns here. I'm going to basically go back to the computer, take some notes on the form of the song, come back, and we're going to build it out in this little sequence right here. So be right back. Okay, now that we got that figured out, we got to go right ahead and make ourselves some patterns. So the first pattern is only 8 bars long. So that's going to be popping over here. We're going to swing over to the master, and we're going to make that twice as long. Over at 128. Okay, sweet. Now we're going to switch to pattern 2. And pattern 2's got to be 32. We're just going to start here. There's a chance that we... Okay, so wait, what's 32 times 16? Goodness gracious, I always get bad at these. Pause, I'm going to get the calculator going. 32 times 12. Sweet. Okay, so that's 8 patterns now set to their proper lengths, at least on the master front, and now each track can be set to anywhere from 1 to 64 steps. So we'll start by just getting the drums in, so then at least we have kind of a framework for that. So I know this first drum will start right here on the 1, and we're just going to put the trigger to first. That way it'll just play when it hits the first time. But we do need to hit it on the right slice, so make sure that that is on slice 1. So anyways, you see this process. So now I'm going to go through and take the different tracks that are single hits, or basically all these things, and lay it out across the framework. So we'll at least have all the sample tracks kind of laid out correctly. I'm going to go back and double check my work to make sure I don't do anything stupid, and then we'll tap back in. Cool, and now here's where the melody should come in at the beginning of the section. So let's go to the melody one. Oh, well, that's the one where I'm actually gonna play this melody bit. So we're not gonna go till the next section, and we're gonna add that clip in, which is gonna be downbeat slice 5. So that's gonna live there. So then when we get here in section 3, it'll just start and take over. But section 2, I'm gonna leave open so that I actually have to perform it in that moment. Off the top of the song, there isn't going to be all that much to do, but that's usually good because we're coming in from one other song without a transition, and we need some time to set up all of the other synths to the appropriate thing. So not having too much right off the top can be beneficial, and the way this song's laying out so far, that seems to be how it's going to play out. That way we don't have to add a bunch of time between songs. Okay, so now we've got the patterns all set up. We got patterns 1 through 9. Now, unfortunately, that's just something I'm going to have to remember when we're playing it, that's how many patterns we got to do, because It's nice when they all have green lights. Who knows, with the MIDI tracks, maybe they will. But that at least gets our sample tracks in the right place for all the ones that we want to be having basically going on in the background. And throughout the rehearsal process with the band, I'll dial these in a little bit more. But this at least gets us to a point we can rehearse, which that's our main goal today. Next up, we would switch over to the MIDI tracks, and we would start putting in the sequences for the modular and learn in the parts for the other synths. So I'm going to cut it here for now and hop over to that zone. And realistically, it's going to be a different day. So in 3, 2, 1, time travel. Okay, so now it's time to deal with what exactly is in this modular rack. So this is a primarily 2-voice setup with the XPO and the rings being my main synth voices. I've also got a morphogene in there for samples, as well as a input called the little Mikey, so I can put a microphone into it and do some vocal stuff. Bottom left-hand corner is the MIDI converter that makes it so that I can have the 2 channels being run by the Octatrack and then more sequencing and modulation. Top left, we've got the mono voice of the XPO and going into the Q pass. We got the pip slope as the envelope and a mimeophone for effects. We've got the rings going into monsoons in the middle as the second voice. The morphogene's on its own, and then the input is also on its own. All of that is fed through the mixer into the Blackwell DSP, and finally to the output. A little extra patching to get some fun modulation, and we're off to the races. So now we got to actually build the live performance rig in completion. So that's putting the Minotaur and connecting that to the key step for bass, adding this Korg Prologue here for my right hand, and connecting the Octatrack to the modular with the 5-pin MIDI. I've got channel 5 working for the XPO, I've got channel 6 working for Rangoons, and now I'm punching in the sequence kind of throughout the whole song in order to make sure that that goes correctly. So that's a big part of the prep phase. After we get that dialed in, here I am kind of displaying the different sequences in hyperspeed. I got to learn the prologue part, which is what I'm doing here in the right hand. And then I got to learn the bass part. And at that point, I've kind of got myself performance ready, and it's time to take it to the boys. So we're going to pack things up here, get on a plane, and fly down to LA. Welcome to band practice.
Shit's hard.
Hello.
Oh, I'm a touring musician. I haven't showered in 3 days.
What's your name?
I'm Musty Gooch. Musty Gooch.
Well, that's it. That's what it was like to take I Don't Like My Telephone, the song by my band Sun King, from Ableton Project to live performance with the trio. I hope there was something interesting in there for you. I hope that it was somewhat illuminating. If you have your own kind of musical practice, maybe some ideas in there for you. If you noticed anything I was doing that was really stupid and you want to, chew me out for it, please leave a comment for that. Or if you liked something, also nice comments are also welcome. But also excited to learn. Maybe somebody knows something that I don't here in my process and I'm wasting a bunch of time somewhere. Would love to optimize if that's a thing. But yeah, I hope that y'all were able to have a good time with this video and that it brought some kind of good information to you. And if nothing else, was at least a little entertaining. And thank you so much for watching this long. If you've made it all the way here, you're a trooper. Please consider liking and subscribing to my channel and to the Sun King channel. It helps a lot. And with that, I'm going to let you go. So have a lovely day. Hope you're feeling well despite the state of the world, and hang in there.